So, Rebuken, I've been looking forward to having you on our show because you are literally one of the best Crucible players that I've met in the community. And I'd love to get to know more about how you got started in Destiny.
Okay. Well, it all started with like a group of friends. We were basically just playing like Destiny casually, because it was when it first came out, everybody was just curious at how an FPS shooter slash MMO type RPG type game meshes and would work, being the fact that I've played Bungie's games for so many years, basically since 07, actually 04. From Halo, the Halo franchise, just transitioning from that to, okay, they got rid of it. 343 took over. And then I'm going to go over to Bungie's next game, which is Destiny, which they said 10 years of story and all this stuff. I was excited. So, shout outs to my friends, J-Pack and King Leaps and my friend Dane. We just always played together. We completed all the raids together in D1 and, started playing D1 competitively in a sense, started to kind of take it a little bit more serious. Shout out to my friend Blackout too as well. In the A2D gang, we basically just stuck together and just kept doing, Crucible together. And I really started to enjoy the benefit of Crucible because I was just like, man, this kind of does have a little bit of an edge to it. Despite the fact that, it has its small flaws as far as the peer-to-peer gaming, which our servers, we've all dreaded that part and aspect of the game itself. But when Trials of Osiris came around and that end result, you know what I mean? After you get your wins, you're just like, man, it felt more rewarding each week. You wanted to go back into it, and each weekend you look forward to the weekend in Destiny. And so
to the lighthouse and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That feel of getting to the lighthouse. There's so many people that didn't even get there. And I mean, I don't even remember how many times I've been there, but I've been there a lot of times. And it was a great feeling, going through to that. And then when you get to D2 and, they had Trials of the Nine, and you're like, wow, okay, so they brought back this same type of aspect, but there's platforms now as far as like how many wins you get. And if you don't make it to the top platform and then into that little rabbit hole, you just don't feel like, you're like, man, this doesn't, dang, I gotta get to that top part, And, when I got into D2, I was actually about to start working for Comcast, and I played. So I was waiting for my training day. So I think I played for like 2 months straight, and then they got this website called Destiny Tracker, and I ended up being #1 in the world on PC for like kills, wins, and stuff like that. I was good for that for about 2-3 months. Met a lot of the top end competitive like gamers in a sense. I mean, we say competitive in a joking manner because it's not really a competitive game per se, but it definitely has a competitive edge in a sense. That takes some skill and
there's shades of
for sure. So just getting into that and then meeting a lot of people that are now in like prestigious clans like IM, which is headed by Triple Rec, and then Tier 1, which is headed by Gigs, and these other people. Like I know people in those clans, and being friends with all those guys, meeting them all through basically Trials of the Nine and competing against them and playing and stuff and doing like private matches and just trying to build friendships with these guys. Granted, there's too many of them to name and count with, but being a part of another clan that was pretty prestigious back then too, Destin, led by Antagonize, a friend of mine too as well. It took me to another place with this game in the PvP community.
That's really awesome.
Remarkable. Yeah, that's really cool.
We started playing PvP with Halo, right? Halo Reach, I want to say for me personally.
I got you started with Halo Reach. I'm the same with Reb. I started my Bungie playing with Halo 2 and then transitioned to Halo 3. And I no-liked Halo 3. Like, I loved Halo 3 so much. It was great.
Yeah, I knew pros in Halo 2, Halo 3. I played with some of them. I mean, I was going for semi-pro. I just tell people I went semi-pro, but I was going for it because I was about to join the team. But I just say I went there because I got invited to the team. I had to decline due to life scenarios. I was like 19 when all that happened, so I was like, I need to work on real life stuff. Gaming to me back then wasn't as serious as in my later years. I mean, I'm turning 30 in July, but I don't know why. It's like now that I'm older, I want to be more relaxed, and gaming to me has been more relaxed for me. I've been streaming full time and doing these things in the Destiny community since October. Not even October, August. End of August. I've been, full time in this stuff. And I mean, I live by myself. I don't live in no basement of mom's basement. You know what I mean? So I pay my own bills. I take care of myself. You know what I mean? So it's worked out pretty well, in the sense of, the direction I wanted to go. And I'm grateful.
That's great. That's really cool, man. Continued success.
It's got to be pretty exciting being able to do this full time, like playing the game you love to play, helping other people, and actually make a living that way. That sounds like a pretty cool gig.
It is. I mean, I love the networking aspect. Nowadays, right now, as far as the game state, I mean, it's in a really shaky state due to, the announcements that just recently passed and the uprising of Apex Legends and other games that are coming out. It's hard to kind of keep the community together, at least on PC. Console, it still seems fairly well, but that's just because there's a more bigger population. People think that since it's PC, you got to buy this $700, $800 to $2,000 rig and stuff like that, when it's really just about investment and your commitment to actually want to do it. Because, I mean, if we think about it, an Xbox X with taxes is like $550. You can get yourself a nice little rig for that, build one, and then just your little, it's not expensive like people say, but really the community is taking a hit on PC. So it's caused me to try to, lean in other directions too, at this point.
It's bittersweet, but it's like they got a lot of competition. For sure. Right now and everything coming up.
Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting you mentioned that, because it does make a ton of sense, because if you look at the majority of players who are playing Destiny are coming from Halo. Right. The majority of Halo players are coming from Xbox because it was a Xbox exclusive title. So in most cases, if you're a really hardcore Destiny fan, more than likely you live on consoles, not necessarily on PC. PC came well after the game had come out on consoles.
Exactly. Well, even if you've taken the fact that a lot of people are looking forward to the new Halo that actually was announced, which actually has the ability to be played on PC, we gravitate towards what excited us the most back then, like Kingdom Hearts 3, for instance. That's a game that we played as children, or teenagers, or, getting fresh into high school. Like, so many people were like, this was my childhood. This is my childhood. I've seen many different people, but we gravitate what's nostalgic, and if it's not nostalgic to us, then we have a tendency to try to veer off to something else. Because for us as PvP players, we were looking forward to, the return of Trials. And when they said that they were doing what they were doing, we were like, well, shoot, then what's the point of really being here? Like, Trials really created a community that people can come together. I mean, I was doing raffles and recovs and things like that, but it brought a community together with people waiting and thinking it's like, oh man, this is exciting. Like, they're actually waiting for their chance to get this, this gear and stuff for the week. You know what I mean? And their Trials win, and their little crown over their head, their little aura. So they're just looking forward to this, but taking that away really punched a lot of people in the face. They're just like, man, we really wanted to get that back and, get that community back, because people were getting partnerships on Twitch and stuff like that. My stream was blowing up too, in retrospect to that. And I was just like, man, that hit hard. It doesn't make sense to us as far as like the PvP community.
Even when they took it out of Destiny 1 at the end and everything, too, I still feel like me and Corn share the same sentiments on that. We feel like they should have found a way to keep a version of that, like, on there.
Right.
And if they weren't going to bring it to Destiny 2 in that state, they evolved it and brought it to 4v4. It kind of was a slap in the face to everybody.
Everybody's saying the people that complain are the people that are casual. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because a lot of people that complain about Not Forgottens and Lunas, they're casual players. And they said, I read a blog once, and they were saying, like, I'm sick and tired of Bungie creating these things that's unreachable and unachievable to people that don't play this game competitively. And they're the best guns in the game. Well, to be honest, Lunas and Not Forgottens are complete butt in PvE, in my opinion. I don't see the purpose of using, especially Lunas. The drop mag on that doesn't make sense for you to utilize that in PvE. Like, like the 3-tap's cool with the headshots, but it's pointless. You'd be better off with a fighting lion in PvE. Shout outs to fighting lion. It's a really good gun. But I'm just saying, like, people are they're collectors. And some people really thrive in that, or they don't have the time to do that type of stuff. And, I can understand both sides, but to really get to the point where they're saying Trials is out, then they should just say Lunas and Not Forgotten's out too. If it's something that's going to be complained about for the casual community, then they need to remove Lunas and Not Forgotten as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the problem is that they tried to replace competitive multiplayer with Trials, but they don't really compare. I think that Trials of Osiris was a much better experience for players, and it actually brought a lot more people together, whereas with comp, the grind is extremely long and you end up playing against a lot of the top players. I think it's a much longer grind than playing Trials.
Definitely.
And I definitely like 3v3 elimination better from D1. I if they do bring Trials back, which I hope they do eventually, I know they said they're not going to bring the 2015 version back, and we're going to talk about that more and everything later, but I thought that was just so much more solid, in my opinion.
Yeah,
definitely. And they also need to remove super mods. I've been complaining about super mods for a while in tournaments, like the little Destiny tournaments that we do have. It's something that's not, you can't use it in a tournament. So if it's bannable in tourneys and stuff like that, it's definitely frowned upon in the sweat community. Like, people that get 2 to 3 supers per game, it's not fair. You're fighting, it used to be an issue where it was you're fighting against heavy and super. Now that they've changed the heavy time, then we're just dealing with fighting with supers. So having something to counter against another team is kind of hard. So if you're running all Sentinels, right, and they're running, I don't know, let's say all Warlocks, well, the Sentinels are just running around. They got suppressors for days. They could stop your super, and they can also create momentum based upon their orbs, and they could just pretty much roll with supers the whole game, and so you're pretty much losing to supers. So how is that really benefiting the other team as far as, this is fair, this is good game, you know what I mean? It's just not. And super mods are it's just ridiculous how well people, how many times somebody gets a super. So me personally, I'm just against it. I'm using Paragon or Ordnance mods. I'd rather get I feel like abilities are more important than the super, because you're going to be utilizing your abilities more than you use your super in the whole game.
If you're getting kills, you're going to get your super.
Exactly. That's how it was before. You're
rewarded for your game, your gameplay, your gunplay.
You take it back to when Crucible first started on D2. We had a slower TTK, which was cool, 4 shots, whatever, but it wasn't as chaotic before they put in the get fast update for Titan skating and Warlocks going super fast everywhere when they're in Dawnblade. Those updates kind of messed the game over. That's why they're coming back and saying, we're going to go ahead and fix Titan skating, because we realize we'll make it so it's balanced. And then, other things kind of steamrolled with it. And you're just like, man, this is not the same game that we played a couple months ago, almost a year ago. And I think it's in a strange state right now. It's not too enjoyable unless it's played a certain way with the other team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's strange.
There's not enough to do if you think about it, because,
right.
The perfect example is Crimson Days, because in most cases, you played Crimson Days last year if you're playing it now. If you played it last year, you will have gotten 90% of the drops that are part of this event. It takes away from the fun in many ways, because I don't have a whole lot to grind for. I have the Vow bow and the Sugar Shell, which came back from D1.
Yeah, and then I think with that, it lacks excitement, in my opinion. Like I was just doing my weekly 5, right? First game I played, my friends intentionally sniped me on stream, and I wasn't prepared for it because my other friend was like, "Hey, let's go do some, do some Crimson Days. It might be casual. Let's just chill." Man, it was sweaty. Like every game was sweaty, man.
They were stream sniping you, huh?
Yeah, they were stream sniping you, but they only did it for like one game, and they had to go to school. But it was funny.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, I feel like I was dealing more with ability spams than I was with encountering somebody. These Titans, man. With the update on the bottom tree smash, they were just running around throwing this grenades everywhere, grenades. So I'm just running from pulses and everything else. I'm like, how can I even get close to them where they're spamming grenades every time we try to get into a gunfight with them? And it was ridiculous. I was like, okay, this isn't fun. And so you put that aspect into that bottom tree super. I mean, when you get a kill, it extends it. And now that it goes away slower, I mean, you just have to shoulder charge somebody and they get their super, their super energy back. And it's quite significant. It's kind of like when they had the issue with the spectral blades. When you have the Wisdom Vests, you hit them and you get like that unlimited super. Remember that?
Yeah.
Man,
it's still kind of a problem still, even. Like
it's not as dramatic.
No, you're right. Not as dramatic, but it still lasts quite a while, that super. I've gotten killed twice, like, while this person was super, like, a lot of times.
The base of it lasts too long, for sure. And so it's just like, honestly, me personally, I feel like Spectral should have never been in the game. It just doesn't fit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially in the PvE world. You have to when they do supers, they have to consider PvE and PvP. And when you use that Spectral on a boss, it's so whack. Nobody ever uses that Who uses Spectral on anyone? I don't see nobody ever use Spectral in Gambit. I mean, it's completely useless.
The hit detection is trash.
Yeah. It's terrible. So they should have came up with something else for that. I would have been fine with the support. I think they don't give enough thought into the fact that hunters could be more support too, being the fact that they're more agile, but they also can, I wouldn't say it would be like some type of healing type of support, but like something that's like more range support type of super, which comes in with tether. But
you can do tethers, yeah.
You know what I mean? But tether is not really a consistent thing that you can really benefit and trust, So it just depends on how they would like maneuver that. But I don't know. It's just Hunter's in such a strange state right now. I think when it comes to the new nerf that's coming in March, we're gonna see a lot. We're gonna see some Titans, but not as many.
Yeah.
We're gonna see a lot more Hunters, and we're gonna see a lot more Warlocks for sure.
Yeah.
Hunters and Warlocks I think they're gonna dominate the PvP scene, simply because the Dawn Blade got a extension on his duration on the top tree and the bottom tree Dawn Blade, and then just Hunters in general. Spectral is just it's just broken. So, but also Nova Bomb's back, which is great because Nova Bomb's in a great state right now, in my opinion. It's, in my opinion, I say it's the new OEM, one-eyed mask, because you can use Devour if you're using bottom tree. Hit detection on Devour is kind of strange, but top tree has a huge blast radius, and it's definitely good for shutting down. But Warlocks I'm actually a Warlock main right now too. I started off as a Hunter for pretty much all the D1, and then I started in D2 as a Titan, and then I went back to Hunter for quite a while, and then now I'm actually a Warlock for the first time. So it's been very interesting, working with that.
Yeah, I'm a Hunter myself. I love, playing with the Hunter. I'm most comfortable playing as a Hunter because of the way that you jump with that character, but also I really love Knucklehead Radar. I know it's not the most popular exotic, but for me personally, having that Luna's Howl, having the Blast Furnace with the radar, it's very useful for me. It's been working pretty well in Crucible.
Yeah, and there's I don't disagree with the Hunter exotics. I think they've really shot themselves in the foot when it comes to the Hunter exotics. There's not a lot of good ones. Like Shinobu's Vow, nobody likes that. And just a lot of the other ones. I mean, there's really the only ones that you generally would see, because I remember when D2 first started on PC, everybody had foe tracers. But for some reason, like, nobody uses it now. And it's supposed to give, a damage buff to somebody that's marked and lower health. And you would assume somebody would have not forgotten or learned how. It's basically a tracking marker. You think they would use that. And you're like, nah, wait, they're not using that? Okay. So they rather use the Dragon Shadow, which is honestly, in my opinion, the best right now. Stompies, Dragon Shadow, and Wizard Vest, top 3. And Frosty's too, if you like abilities, like you utilizing your abilities. But right now, Dragon Shadows for sure. It reloads all your guns, pretty much gives you the same benefit of Stompies as far as like the sliding ability and your fast ADS and also switching between guns. I mean, it's super effective.
Try that out.
Yeah, it's definitely like what a lot of people do is they have 2 exotics that they switch between in the PvP community. You'll switch between what you're utilizing as far as what's going to benefit your subclass, and then Dragon Shadow. And so, because the Wraith metal effect is really, really good, and that's the reload deal. But most people would run 5. They'll either run 5 Paragon mods because you'll get your your dodge roll back a lot faster, and just spam that Dragon Shadow. Pretty much utilize that to the best of your benefit. If you have Ace of Spades, it'll reload that, put the kill clip on it, and all that. So you don't have to utilize the top dodge anymore. You can use the dodge roll on the bottom tree. And, so you're not using the marksman anymore. You're using the bottom tree, the roll. So you're more agile and less hit detectable. I mean, it just makes your movement a lot more fluent too, and troublesome to be able to get hit by the other team.
What about people? 6 Coyote?
The 6 Coyote with the double dodge, I wouldn't utilize it. Honestly, you have to utilize your arsenal and your kit the best way that you can. What's going to benefit you. Now, if you're utilizing 6 Coyote, you might as well utilize it with, on your boots, utilize Dynamo, which gives you your super. Utilize your, get your super back when you're around somebody. It used to be you could just roll whenever, but now you have to be in the proximity of an enemy. But I would say it's cool if you're into throwing smokes or whatever your melee ability is at that time. That's what I would say it would be best for. But it really doesn't benefit you. Like, if you get into a scenario, let's say you have Dust Rock Blues, right, for your primary, and it has, I don't know, full auto and slide shot. Well, it doesn't fast ADS. And most of the people that are, looking for these quote-unquote god rolls, they utilize full snapshot, slide shot, accurized rounds, full choke, and that's the best roll to get for it, because you want that snappiness. So that's that roll, you know what I mean? And if you incorporate that with stompies and you're sliding further, to be able to get into situations and roll out, because that's what hunters are best for. They'll slide in, they'll shoot their shotgun, and then they'll dodge roll away, right? So now if you think about it, if you have the 6 Coyotes on, you're not gonna be able to do that. You're gonna be able to just get away, and your gun's still not going to be reloaded. You'll have to slide to get away. Whereas if you have Shadow Dragons on, you dodge roll away, you get your gun reloaded and fully reloaded. Especially if you kill someone, you get like 5 ammo instead of the 2 that you have, which was 1 bullet now. You get 5 or whatever because you have Scavenger on for shotgun. Then you'll be able to get back into the fight faster, and plus you'll be able to slide, and you'll have that snappiness. But that benefits people that don't have snapshot, because it gives them that snapshot. You know what I mean?
That's good info. That's really good info.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Reb, do you have a favorite subclass that you're using right now?
I am, like I said, I'm bouncing between Warlock right now, because I'm like trying to get away from. I like to play against meta with stuff for the most part, if I can. You know what I mean? Like, I'm using Old Fashioned sometimes. Everybody else is using Ace of Spades. I don't know. I just love my Dire Promise, and I'm trying to keep the same archetype.
Ooh, Dire Promise. What perks do you have on that?
Well, Dire Promise is from the Faction Rally, which is supposed to return, but it comes from the Dead Orbit. And so that gun right there has triple tap. So if you ever look into your collections, there's a gun called the One Earth, and it's a green hand cannon. And so the Dire Promise is basically the upgraded version of that, because it has better stability and range. That's basically it. Still and a little bit less on the snappiness, because the old One Earth has basically just a whole bunch of handling and terrible stability and pretty bad range, but it's a really good gun when you don't have any guns. But my favorite subclass right now, I'm definitely digging, like I said, Top Tree Nova is really fun, and I'm actually considering getting into Well of Radiance on the Warlock too. The reason why is because I was messing around with it, and you can give your teammates overshield. So just consider, as a Warlock, you're pretty much the support character. You got the healing rifts, and you have to position that, like, you have to play like mid. You have to play between your players. You can't really lead the fight per se. You can, but it's not really a wise idea because you don't really have the ability to get out of the situation as fast. So if you're in the middle, then you're able to pop that rift and provide that healing support that everyone wants, right? Well, I was considering playing kind of a little bit on the back line and then utilizing the healing overshield that you get from the grenade, right? So you get it, you hold the grenade, and you throw it at your teammates to get an overshield, okay? And that's pretty cool because it's beneficial for them. Then the Well of Radiance gives you that damage buff, which allows you to also, if you connect that with Lunafaction boots, you don't ever have to reload. So looking into the fact that I can put a healing rift down with my Lunafaction boots, it pretty much gives my teammates the ability to shoot without having to reload, which is beneficial if you're laning or something like that, right? Now, consider, let's say I did an empowering rift, right? Well, if you have something like, I don't know, Ace of Spades, you get your Memento Mori in the empowering rift without having to reload. So now you get your your Memento Mori without having to reload or getting any kills. So you're hitting 93, I think it's 85 to the head when you're in the rift. Just a general, empowering rift, but the general is like 93 when you get the Moris. So if you do get the Moris, right? Let's say you get a kill while in the rift, and you get a damage buff. You can do the reload and get the real Moris, which is kind of weird. So now you're double stacking damage while in a rift. I think you hit for, I think I seen 115. So while you have the actual Memento Moris while in an empowering rift, I think you hit for 115, from my understanding. So it's a 2-tap, right? So it's really interesting how you can do it. And then also, when you're doing like, I don't know, control maps, you could put the healing rift while in the actual, on the point, and then you'll pretty much be able to get healed like constantly. And let's say you put a healing rift on top of that. I mean, it's just stackable, and that's what I'm really starting to like about it. And then if you kill someone with your melee ability, you get empowered. You actually get an empowerment in your gun for a few moments too. So it's more of a buff. It's a buff class, and that could be beneficial for laning or finishing kills. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna probably dabble in that this week.
Those are really interesting builds. Like, yeah, make me want to play on my Warlock more. Like,
you got to try it out. Yeah.
What about Ophidian Aspect for the
Ophidian Aspects? Those are really good for, snappy ADS and then fast reloading. I think right now what everybody utilizes on Warlock is the transversive steps, and then also the controverse holds.
I don't have either one of those.
Well, the transversive steps are from year one, so it's very easy to be achieved. I mean, Zur actually sold it last week, so you missed that. But you could probably still get it through his Ingrams, But that's really cool. And then the controverse holds are good for the Nova Warp. Basically, you get an overshield, which I think it reduces the damage out incoming for about 50%. So you hold your grenade and charge it up, and then you're getting damage reduction, allowing you to throw that nade at someone. And then you also get super ability back too. And I think you also get grenade ability too as well. So a lot of people just utilize that as a crutch, but it is what it is. I wouldn't mess with it. But the transversive steps are very interesting because it boosts your sprint speed on top of reloading your gun. So you take about a couple steps or so, and then your gun automatically reloads. Now, it doesn't proc any type of, ability as far as, memento mori or anything. If you have a kill clip or something, it does not proc that. But something like the Luna's Howl, where you have the drop mag on the gun defaultly, it automatically reloads the gun, and it doesn't proc the drop mag, so you don't lose ammo. You can just run and then get it back, on top of being able to slide pretty far. It's like Stompies for the Warlock.
That's really interesting, because normally I would only use the Warlock with the not the Nova Bomb, the what is it? Drawing a blank.
The Nova Warp?
Not Nova Warp. The thing that gives you health.
Well, Radiance.
Well, Radiance. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the one we were just talking about.
Yeah, I would normally use that during like Last Wish raid. I would use Well of Radiance, but I wouldn't even think to use it in PvP. That's really interesting. I'm gonna have to try that out for sure.
So somebody that's really good at doing something like that is actually Cammy Cakes. And shout outs to Cammy Cakes, Drewski, everybody in Encore. I don't know Cammy personally, but I do know Drewski. That's a good friend of mine. Shout out to him. And congrats on getting partnered and getting the sword. And so, so he utilized that in Crucible for some type of clip here recently. He does that kind of stuff. He experiments. That's why he's known for what he's known for, just doing every gun and being good with it, right? As far as Cammy Cakes fashion, right? So, my friend Dex, he also basically utilize that too, and you can use that aggressively. You can use it defensively and offensively. It goes both ways in Crucible. You just have to be very mindful of how you utilize it, and it can be very beneficial for the team, which a lot of people don't think. They think that it's all about the kills, slay, Dawn Blade. You know what I mean? Be more aggressive with it, create orbs and stuff like that, and it doesn't have to be like that.
That's something you want to be communicating with your team, though, when you're ready to use it, so people can get that benefit and everything.
Right. Yeah. So it's also based upon your opponents too. You have to check their kits. Like normally, people will check the arsenal of their teammates. I mean, their teammates they already know, but their opponents. And once you figure that out, it's much like Tetris. You know what I mean? You got to figure out what pieces go together and that can make that perfect piece and get rid of that line, right? So you're basically creating, a counter to their deals. So like if I see a bunch of spectrals, I'm not going to run, Well of Radiance, because all it takes is for them to just come in here and slice us up. I mean, it is what it is. But what I would utilize is something like Nova Bomb. If I'm using a Warlock, I would use a Nova Bomb because I need something to shut them down. You need to figure out what supers would shut down the other enemy at that time. You know what I mean? And what's more beneficial for you and your team. And then also communicating, like I've talked to you before, Shadow, communicate with your team who's going to utilize what super at what point, because if everybody does it at the same time, then it just looks like a mess and you're unbalanced.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
Yeah. And I noticed, especially in comp, when you're playing against like some of the top tier players, I mean, they're so strategic in how they play. Every aspect of the gameplay, they're strategizing. They're playing in such a way to trap you to get that kill. You have somebody who's running, gunning. You have somebody who's sniping. It's all strategic cohesion, and that's what I think is so important when you're playing things like competitive multiplayer, to have that, and you have a lot of options with all the different super abilities that we have available to us.
Definitely. It's all about position. Like I tell everybody, it's not as much gun skill as it is about, positioning and also rotations. Those are really important. When you know when to push, when you know when to rotate, when you know to reposition yourself, when you know to commit to a fight and to not commit. It's much like Overwatch, because like if you consider Overwatch, like there's always like a tank or two. They have a healer or two, and then they also have their DPS. Some aspects they might do different types of deals, you know what I mean? Depends on what the meta's based around, right? Mm-hmm. But if you have like one guy running in and just acting like a monkey and just going crazy, then you got the other guys just staying back. Well, they're just, and it depends if it's like, I don't know, if it's objective, then, and they have 2 cap points. I mean, why would you rush in and pretty much feed them? Your one kill is 1 kill point, compared to their 2 that they can get just by taking your friend out. That's just running in and acting a fool. And so now you have to consider, what points are better, knowing the spawns and then making those, legitimate pushes. And I know for me, I'm very passive aggressive and I'm aggressive when we need to be, and the reason why I'm passive aggressive is because I'm honestly like calculating my next move and what move would they do in retrospect to my move, and if they don't do it, well then, hey, it's RNG, right? But you kind of want to bait them into what you want them to do. If you can get them to do what you want them to do, then your team already won. It's pretty much you're putting the mind game on them and making them feel like they're, going to have some type of advantage in certain areas, and then you pretty much just change it up on them.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Very strategic.
Now you said you're one of the top players in competitive in Destiny Crucible. How did you get to that point? Were you always a really good Crucible player, or is that something that you developed as a skill set?
Yeah, well, I want to say like there's probably like a top 300, and I'm definitely sitting in there. I think it all came down to learning the map, learning the way, like a friend, my friend antagonized the way that he explained it one time on his stream was he figured out the way that people move. When you figure out how people will do certain things, like for instance, let's say we're playing on Altar of Flame. Altar of Flame is pretty simple. The way that the way that the spawn system works in here is much like Halo. If anybody knows anything about Halo, they know spawn systems are really easy to trap. And the way that it works is based upon body count. Okay, so if you have majority of the people on one side, and let's say you have everybody on one side, and you just team wiped over there, right? Well, they're going to spawn on the complete opposite side where you spawned initially, right? Let's say you're split 2-2. Well, they're going to spawn in the middle. It's really simple. And so once you know that, then you start to figure out how the people are going to peak. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about something you would do in a high-end game, then it's definitely something they would do, And if they have snipers, then not to peek that lane unless you're going to challenge with your sniper and you're confident enough in that, or challenge with your shot, But it all is, like I say this all the time, I mean, you can play the same team 10 times, get 10 different results. You're not going to beat the same team each and every time. You might beat them all the time, but there's going to be a day when you're going to lose to that team's going to lose to you, and you got to take it as it is, because things happen in the game that are unexplainable just because of the peer-to-peer aspect. But, just playing with people on that end and just kind of, like I said, it went from trials and meeting everyone and people, coming into my chat and stream and just, befriending everyone. I think more so, I think everybody knows me because I'm chill. I don't get into stuff, and I'm very peaceable, with everyone for the most part. So I just make friends just based upon my personality. Like, a lot of people like me because of that. And I'm a good player. And sometimes I have my bad days.
And a good teacher.
That's what it is. So, yeah, a good teacher. So, you just, all that put together, and just meeting the right people and beating the right people. And, I don't brag on who I beat all the time. I don't think that's honestly necessary based upon the state of the game. And the game is just, like I said, it's completely RNG. You can have a melee battle where you're supposed to win, but you missed the melee because the desync of the game. And it just caused you, it was a super important melee battle for the round or something, and it caused you to lose. I mean, can you really say that person's better than you when the game didn't work properly? You know what I mean? So it's just like, you can't really brag about who you beat all the time, and you just got to take it for what it is. And that's how I climbed my way up, and that's how my reputation got. Because I don't sit here and just say, oh man, I smack such and such all day, every day. I don't. It's just no point. I just want to play the game, achieve what I need to achieve, and then help people achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah, Reb. The two things I know about you that is very unique from some of the other top Crucible players is that, one, you're very patient with people, and also you're very humble about.
I was thinking the same exact
Yourself.
word, humble, absolutely.
And that's something that's really rare in the community, because I think sometimes you know, when players get big enough, they start to develop an ego, and they're a lot less patient with people who are playing. And I've played with you, and you're a very patient guy, and you're just a really great mentor, in my opinion, in the game. That's pretty cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I definitely am. I can have my impatient moments, but I hold it back. I think that's just, you know, my old pastor used to say, she used to tell me I was just the most patient person, because, you know, I would go shopping with the ladies, and, you know, us men, bro, we don't want to sit in the store all day, and we got other things we want to do, and they're sitting in the store and try to, you know, buy one T-shirt for like 3 hours, you know. And I grew up around a lot of women, and my mom taught me a lot of respect for women. So just learning that, and then also on top of like military, you know, my parents were military, or my dad was military, and my grandfather was military, just being raised in a, you know, that type of housing. And then you apply that to people. I mean, I did sales for years. I used to work for Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, DirecTV, a lot of different places where I just had to be calm with people. I've never really blown up on somebody in general. I mean, the worst type of job was a customer service job, and I did that for AT&T for like 2 years, and I was tech support. So, you know, you got people on the phone, you're like, can you reset your phone? Oh, how do I turn that off? How do I turn off the phone? Like, you know, they don't know how to turn off their own phone. And you're like, just remove the battery. I don't have a battery. So how's your phone working? You know, so
unplug your computer. Sorry.
Right, unplug your brain. Like, you know, like you have people like that. And I mean, trust me, I used to sit on the side and be like, oh my gosh, man, this person is slow, you know? And there's times where I may feel like that. It's just natural. But I have my tendency. I feel like composure, honestly, in Destiny and in just any shooter game in general, it's the best thing to have. Like, especially if you're gonna, like, if you have like a 1v2 scenario and you win the round, you're like, that was huge win. I mean, you have to have composure. And I think for me, that's the best thing that I could say for anybody that's trying to be good in any type of game. Hold your composure, stay confident, and do your best, you know. And if you can do that, you'll win just about everything. I think that's what every top gamer in any game would say, you know, because if you go in there, panicking and freaking out, there's times when I do yell, and I'm passionately yelling like, hey, we got to do this, and this, because I really want to win that game. It's not affecting my gameplay, but I feel like some people can't handle it. I come from a Halo background and a Call of Duty background. Those gamers are yellers, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you play with people that Destiny is probably their first FPS shooter that they've ever played on PC, and they're like, "Why are you yelling, man? That's you know, they can't handle it. It might be too much for them." And you know, I'm starting to consider that more because I had somebody tell me that once, and I'm like, okay, well, that's just passionate yelling, to be honest. Like, you know, that's nothing against you guys. So, yeah, it's just composure.
There's a difference between trying to bring a point across and just raging. If you're just raging because you got killed, that's counterproductive. But if you're emotional and you want to make sure everybody's on the same page as far as the strategy goes, I don't think that's an issue. You know, that's just playing to win.
Right. It comes to the point where people are just, you know, some people are passionate and some people are just, you know, they're just upset people. I know a guy right now, literally, it's a literal complaint. You know, it's about the game. And I'm to the point now, like, and I've been to that point for the past couple of weeks. It's like the game's at where it's at. We can't change it. We can't complain anything about it. We can make the complaint about who's lagging in the game, and we got to watch out for that guy. That's pretty much where I get it. I'm like, we got to watch out for this dude. He's lagging, you know? And if it is what it is. You know, you can't change it. It's not, and it's strange how the game benefits laggy players, because, like, I had this guy I was playing against the other day, teleporting everywhere, you know? I'm shooting him, and he's teleporting like bad teleporting, like Nightcrawler. And I couldn't hurt him. But I immediately died from him. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. I've played other games like Halo and Call of Duty. The guy was lagging, or I was lagging, and I would die. You know what I mean? I'm hitting somebody and stuff, and I'm lagging really bad, and I just drop. I'm dead. They didn't die. You see what I'm saying? But in Destiny, and this has been going since D1, it benefits the lagger. And I don't think that's a proper networking code. I mean, it's terrible, but it is what it is. You have to take it for what it is. Just call it out, let it be known to the other players. Watch out for this dude.
I think people can learn a lot from like your play style. The way if you have a moment you can teach somebody something that's valuable, and I think a lot of people can learn like just from listening to this podcast right now.
It's really simple. It's really straightforward. I think it comes down it only comes down to aiming, to a degree. You do want to have good aim, but you also want to have good game sense. And that's what it really comes down to. I know a lot of guys like offhand right now, like this kid Zenith, man, kid is nutty. Like the guy has an amazing game sense. A kid named Panda, who I used to be in a clan destined with, and now he's in Primal with the Pure Chill and all those other guys.
I went and it says Zenith earlier.
Yeah, Zenith. I just hosted him on Twitter or Twitch. I just played with him recently, first time. My friend Dodge. There's people that I know like offhand, like right now. My friend Aim. They have great game sense, but if you don't have good game sense and know how to maneuver properly, you're definitely gonna fall apart. You're gonna fall apart just as easy as you walked into the lobby with your friends to go, I don't know, try to get some water at a hotel, and you're like, okay, well, you want to get some ice, and you realize that there's no ice makers in the hallway because it was always in your fridge. It happened to me once. It's a terrible feeling. But, weird analogy, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It feels like that. It feels like you walk in there and you're like looking for something, but it was there all along. And if you can't capture the moment of game, like the ability of game sense, then you're really going to fall apart in any type of game. You just need to know when people are going to do things and just think, this is what I would do. This is what I would do if I was that person, and just do it, to counteract.
Yeah.
We are 2.5 weeks away from the next season of Destiny 2. Do you have anything that you're looking forward to or that you're excited for with the next season of Destiny 2, Season of the Drifter?
I'm excited. I missed the Thorn. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the Thorn return. It was one of my favorite guns in D1. I used the Thorn, I used the Hawkmoon, and I used the Last Word in D1. And so I hope Hawkmoon comes through as well eventually. I think the community is going to greatly appreciate it on PC. We definitely wanted to see a nerf to One-Eyed Mask as well as the Titan skating. People right now are just, I was excited to hear it. I would complain in comps, I can't wait for that guy to be a terrible player. Because a lot of people don't really know how to play outside of skating, Titan skating. It's very over-abused and mixed out with One-Eyed Mask and some rushing shotgun guy. Shotguns, you can have the best roll on a shotgun, and it probably won't register the same as it would, 5 times in a row. And so, it's beneficial to that Titan, that got you marked. And so I'm really looking forward to that being nerfed, and see the state of the game. Is it really, I think it's going to change the game style. The game's going to slow down and be more thought process. There's going to be more thought process in the community as far as
just aping with a shotgun.
Yeah, just run in and shotgun. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they need to go back to the shotgun nerf. I think people really underestimate the fact that we're using 105 FOV as the max for PC. Most people do that, and they think that shotties are mapping, but in all actuality, we're a lot closer than we think. Because the FOV just makes it look like they're far, but they're definitely a lot closer than they think. So if you consider that, and then just the changes, man, I think it's going to be great. I think comp's going to be a lot more fun, and I hope that the population picks up again, because I have some recovs to do, so I can, I got some games I got to pick up on, because I don't have any teams right now playing. There's nobody playing right now. Apex Legends has really taken over the comp community. I have 200 friends full of the top players, and 4 or 5 are on every day, and that's really bad. Whereas I used to have 3 pages, 4 pages or so. I hardly have half a page of friends online right now, because they're all playing Apex. Everybody wants to go pro, because being the fact that Destiny doesn't have a pro scene, and we definitely never will, the people that sponsored the tournaments for Destiny, they're having their last one here coming up soon. And that's sad to see because they've been sponsoring, Destiny tournaments since D1. And they said this is the final one because there was some scenarios where there's some DDoSing happening. And until they get, dedicated servers, it's never going to stop, the DDoSing attacks because it happened on the PS4 tournament here recently.
Do you think that's the answer to them fixing Crucible, bringing in dedicated servers?
Yes, definitely. Dedicated servers will change a lot. It'll change the input on the game as far as like the registration. It'll change the DDoSing. It would change everything. This game would be so much more compatible and people would like it, enjoy it a lot more. You know what I mean? The melee whiffs would be more like less,
Yeah.
Because that comes down to poor coding and optimization. I mean, this game was honestly created very poorly compared to D1 in the sense of like how we enjoyed it and how things connected,
Right.
But on top of PC having all these frames, the frames can't keep up with the registration. So there's a lot of desync that happens in this game. And so that's a very big no-no.
Yeah, I've noticed
as far as
that.
like what everybody wants,
I've noticed.
And I think if we went to dedicated servers, it would stop the DDoSing's enough, man. We definitely can't have that happen, especially if Trials comes back, because a lot of people do recubs on Trials times, and so they're just trying to get a quick buck, and so they'll cheat their way to it. That's 7 wins that they gotta get. They'll cheat their way all the way just so they can get it knocked away or knocked out.
So demoralizing when that happens.
It is. It's very bad. It just makes the time longer for the community and who's trying to actually get it done legit, and so it can be bad. But it would fix all of that for sure. That's why Apex is such a big game right now. It has dedicated servers. It doesn't have flinch. It has balanced players. Everybody runs at the same speed, and there's just so many benefits to the game itself. And that's what needs to happen.
With dedicated servers, if that other person, say they're lagging on the other team, it's going to hurt them more, right?
Definitely.
It's not going to benefit them.
It's not. To consider Call of Duty. Call of Duty had dedicated servers, and just think about how it was when you lagged on Call of Duty. It was pretty bad, right? You would never hit a shot.
Yeah.
Like you would, and then eventually you'll get kicked out. Of the game.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Whereas in Destiny, you won't lag out. You'll just keep lagging, and that's pretty silly.
Yeah.
Cole, we don't want to lose you because the population's so low, so we'll just keep you in the match.
Yeah, I find it rather interesting that a game that's free like Apex Legends has dedicated servers, but yet Destiny, in the 4+ years that it's been out, they still can't get dedicated servers into the game.
That comes down to Activision's decisions, though. I feel like they have the arsenal, they have the feedback, they have the community. You know what I mean? You got people like Gigs and Luminosity and stuff. They're frontlining for us in the sense of what they want and what we need. And they complain quite a bit on Destiny. On Bungie, on Twitter. And I'm sure Bungie's seen these things, but like really who has the say so? It all comes down to Activision. Them separating from them is a huge jump forward. Now they really need to listen because like I said to you earlier offside on the side of before the podcast was we didn't react very well at all to the non-return of Trials. And so it goes from them telling us Trials isn't going to return to, oh, well, the next day, we have a dedicated team working on this for you guys. You know what I mean? Because they see that this needs to be expedited or we're out. You know what I mean? Because there's people that were responding in the tweet, going to Apex. Same thing with Fortnite. Fortnite had an update that was getting delayed. I read it. Everybody was talking about they're going to Apex. And so they got some competition out there. And so they need to hurry up, before all things fall apart.
On the next segment on the show, we are going to talk about the Bungie weekly update that we received this past week from Bungie addressing Trials and the future of the Crucible. So we're going to dive right into that in much more details. But I do want to move on and talk a little bit about Crimson Days. It's something that is happening right now in Destiny. It's going to be going on for another few days. It's going to be ending on Tuesday, I believe, which is the 18th is the last day, I want to say.
19th.
19th?
18th into the 19th.
Going into the 19th.
Yeah.
Pretty much 11:59 a.m. on the 19th. That's when it's going to be ending. So if you didn't get a chance to get some of the drops from this new event. You can get a pretty cool new bow called the Vow. Have you guys got a chance to use that bow?
A little bit. I've used it a little bit. It's got a fast fire rate, fast draw rate for a bow.
I haven't been able to dabble in it. I told you I played my 5 days, or for my 5 games, and I was out. I was like, where's the benefit of me actually? I mean, just getting a bow. I'm not a bow user. I used to be a Hanzo main, but it didn't excite me. It's just the draw weight was very, very fast, and I thought that was great. But from what I hear, everybody just says it's just fast. That's it. And that doesn't really benefit a bowmaster, you know?
Yeah.
We need some perks. All the bows in the game were pretty butt compared to the Le Monarch.
I will admit that I did get the Vow, but I have not used it because ever since I got Luna's Howl, I've been pretty much using that exclusively, especially in PvP. It's been really my go-to. So eventually I'll check it out. Maybe next week I'll check out the Vow and let you guys know what I think. But yeah, it's all right. I did get killed by it quite a few times in Crimson Days. And if anybody does not know, Crimson Doubles is a 2v2 clash activity, but with a interesting twist. You have to be with your partner or in close proximity to your partner in order to get a buff in your recharge abilities. Now, if you sway too far from your partner, then you both get highlighted to the other team so they can see you and where you are more easily. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you'll notice that ability spam is pretty crazy when you're close together. Like, the nades they keep coming.
And if anyone is still grinding out for Redrix's Broadsword, this is your chance to get it because there is double Valor going on right now in the Crucible. So whether you play Crimson Doubles, whether you play Quick Play, you will be getting your Valor rank up, even competitive, although, I mean, that's a little sweaty. But yeah, if you choose to play that, you can do that as well. We have 5 bounties available this week from Lord Shax. 4 daily bounties and 1 weekly bounty. And I believe the weekly bounty requires that you do a Nightfall with 1 other person. So you have to 2-man a Nightfall. And once you complete that, I want to say it gives you 100 of those heart.
75.
It's either 75 or 100.
Yeah, I think it's 75.
When you complete that, and I believe you need 100 to get the Vow. So you don't have to grind too much to get it, but if you do a Nightfall and maybe play 1 or 2 Crimson Doubles matches, you should be able to get it pretty easily. Bungie did promise that this year's Crimson Days will have both PvE and PvP activities. Did you guys really feel like they implemented PvE in a good way this time around?
I think that when it comes to anything PvP related and Bungie in general, they have a tendency to leer away from the community. Like, they need to do more. They need to listen more, you know? There's people like, I don't know, at first there was, like, for instance, Fortnite. You know, they listened to the community. The community made its, you know, its grunts and its moans first couple seasons, you know, and now they're just going out the window and just making planes and stuff. But that's kind of how I feel like Bungie was, you know. In D1, the time frame that it took to fix things was so much faster. Like, I remember when the Vex Mythoclast came out after beating, you know, Atheon. You're just like, bro, this was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. This gun is the greatest. And people, I got so excited. I actually got it after the nerf. I was really upset. But when it first came out, man, that thing was so crazy. You know, like 3 shots and people were just getting melted. And there's so many bullets. And there was like no kick, you know? And you're just like, man, this thing's crazy. And then the fusion rifle came, you know, fusion rifle debuff and stuff came and all that stuff. And it was so bad. But they did it in such a timely manner, you know? And if you consider all the things that Bungie's doing right now as far as like adding stuff, but then there's like, we had the OEM for what, a whole season? Yeah. Basically, right? And man, that thing was broken from day one, and everybody complained about it. Everybody complained about hiding skating. And it's like, man, how long did it take for them to actually take action? You know, they're just like adding stuff. So when it comes to like the PvP side, they really need to step in and like allow somebody from the community to get in there and let them do the work, and then make it a lot snappier. We need hot fixes, you know. We don't need additional add-ons on, you know, like you just gave us a bow and some chocolate, basically. And it's like, you could have did better than that for us, you know?
Yeah.
At least in the PvP community. PvE side, it's very interesting, you know what I mean? Like how they cater to that more. But that's just because the game has a lot more casual players, you know? But, I mean, it's a shooter game too. You can't really look at a shooter game as a casual game. You can't. That's really weird. You know, I could see like maybe Splatoon, you know, on the Switch. You're like, that's kind of chill, you know. But like when you're thinking about something that has abilities and perks and stuff like that, and you know what I mean, like they're creating deadly type guns, you can't really think at it like, okay, this game is definitely casual, because I mean, not every gun fits in PvE.
Yeah,
that's PvP. And so, yeah, they definitely should have like catered more to the community instead of just adding stuff.
Once you beat the PvE activities in Destiny, it's not something you're going to continue to grind time and time again, unless you're going back to D1, where it took forever for you to get some of the raid gear or some of the raid weapons that you were trying to get, or even things like the perfect God roll Nightfall drop, like the Omnigul Strike, for example, right? Everybody was grinding for that perfect curated weapon from that strike. They need to bring that back more. But also with PvP, once you're done playing PvE, there's really PvP to play, and that's pretty much what's going to extend your gameplay beyond, let's say, a month. Because realistically, even if they create the greatest campaign, after a month, guess what? You're done playing that. After a month's time, you're done playing the raids, you're done playing the Nightfall, so what's left is PvP. And every PvP match that you play is going to be unique because you're playing against real players. And they really do need to put focus on that, more emphasis on that, to extend the gameplay beyond 1 or 2 months. And that's going to keep people active and playing.
I got more to say about that in our PvP segment, for sure. So,
in my opinion, with Crimson Days, they made it seem like PvE was going to be a larger aspect of this activity this time around, but I feel that they kind of missed the ball this time, because you can play a Nightfall that you were always able to play. You're not really getting anything for it. You're getting 75 of those confectionery hearts, which doesn't really give you anything. If you already got the drops last year, the only 2 things you're grinding for is the Vow, which some people may not care about it, or the Sugar Shell. That's it.
it would have been nice to get some lore like we got with like some of the other things, or maybe make like a whole weapon set. Don't just make a bow. Like, let's get some other weapons and everything. You know, give us more of an incentive to want to play the activity.
There's too little incentives to play. There's not enough drops, and that's where I think Destiny 2 very much differs from Destiny 1, because in Destiny 1, whatever activity you played, there was an abundance of drops for you to grind for. So there was a reason to keep playing the game time and time again. Like, look at Trials of Osiris, right? You didn't just get 2 weapons. You got multiple weapons. You got armor that can drop from it. You have special emblems that can drop from that activity. So it gave you a much greater reason not to only get it accomplished once, but to continue to grind the activity to get that drop that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, just to go over the rest of the weekly update, we do have the Vow Legendary Bow, as we mentioned. It is the first legendary bow that's available to all Destiny 2 players. So whether or not you bought Forsaken or not, you will be getting the bow as a potential drop, which I do like that. I do like the fact that everybody's included, whether you just bought Vanilla Destiny or whether you bought Forsaken. But if you think about it, it's also kind of telling about their sales with Forsaken, because I don't think it did as well as people believe that it did. I don't know how much of the community actually has Forsaken, but for them to open up the Vow exotic bow, or not exotic, legendary bow to everybody, and also to make the Whisper mission available to everybody, I think it kind of leads to an indication that Forsaken didn't quite do as well as they would have hoped.
I think Bungie's hurting in general. Like I said, like think about like we're PC players, Consider the population right now. I mean, you'll find more people doing PvE activities than you would in PvP. And like a lot of the PvE activities is aimed towards the game and the actual, DLC, right? So if they don't have people that can play the DLC, then people gravitate towards PvP. I have a couple of friends that, created all Smurf accounts, and they just played PvP, really. They got through the main, and they're just like, well, there's nothing else to do. So let's just do some Crucible, play some comp, get the, Luna's Not Forgotten, which is basically for everyone, too. You don't need DLC for that. And after that point, they're just like, well, this is all we can do is play quick play and comp. That's about it.
Yeah. And
so they had to open up their servicing to really everyone. And that's why they made the base game free, or they even made Forsaken free for that time frame. So people can get a taste of it, because really, like Forsaken, in my opinion, was a great DLC until we beat it. We beat it, and they opened up. Like Dreaming City has so much like potential to do amazing things and be so much better. There's a lot of secret areas that you're just like, whoa, I wonder what's going to happen here. But it's just emptiness, You're just like, what is this room? You go through a lot of places, and for a second, you're just thinking that something else and something greater is going to happen, and nothing happens. It's just an empty room, and there's just fancy stuff around in Dreaming City, And it's so mysterious, but you're just like, it could be so much better. And after they did the raid, and the raid took them like super long, like 18 hours or whatever, after that, it was just kind of like, oh, whoa, we opened up the Shattering Throne, and that stuff was all cool. But then after, a couple months of the DLC, like 2 months, it's just kind of like, well, the weeklies have been coming back around and stuff. It's just, there's not enough Ascendant challenges, and it's just, they could be doing so much more, but they really shot themselves in the foot. They went in a great direction. They just didn't execute it.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to really chase, or nothing meaningful to chase. I mean, you can still get your seals, which partially are RNG based, right? Because you need to get all of the loot for that specific activity in order to get the seal after you've accomplished all of the triumphs for it. So I think that's one aspect that kind of turns some people away from it. But also look at things like Iron Banner, right? It's coming back, but it doesn't really have anything new to offer. So Iron Banner, it's coming back, but there's no real reason for you to actually play it or chase after anything in it.
Yeah, there's no new weapons or anything. Even if we would have got the reprised weapons from like D1, that would have been more exciting than what we got right now.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Iron Banner is like they need to bring back they need to take away the fact that you can actually get it, and buy it with tokens and stuff or whatever the package is. I think that's silly. It doesn't make sense for us to play for all these packages and then turn in the tokens and then get the gun before we even get the gun. Like, what's the point of you having it exclusively there, and we could just RNG it, when we turn in our coins?
Yeah, it should be like D1 and drop at the end, and you build reputation like you did in D1 and everything.
Exactly. And that's more boastful. I mean, most people were looking forward to the reputation build anyways, because they're just like, man, how many packages did you do? How many times did you do the little prestige deal? People were into that.
Yeah.
And that was cool, but being able to just get the gun that you're pretty much putting on display from the last Iron Banner, and it's like, okay, we don't need that. And then what they did is they took all the Iron Banner gears from the first season of Iron Banner on D2, and then they added rolls to them, which was kind of cool, but we're kind of out of that meta, So now what they're doing is for instance, SMGs are getting yet another buff, and they just got another buff. And so it's like they're really trying to force our hand to play stuff that they want us to play that we don't want to play, to be honest. Like the year of SMGs and stuff was a good time, you know, but everybody's stuck on this bygones, blast furnace, and last word, you know, ace of spades. Like there's like a set meta right now, and it's like, honestly, Bungie did it to themselves. They shouldn't have made these guns and then changed the TTKs, you know, and just made it so that it's suitable for what they want. It's not what the community wanted. So they're really facing everything that they're facing right now is because they did it. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like you know, reap what you sow type deal. And they're not getting the response that they want, and they're trying to figure out how, and they're just making it worse. They're not really listening. It's like the boyfriend that doesn't listen to the girlfriend when she tells him that she doesn't like certain stuff, and he still tries to do it to think that maybe this time it might be good. And she's like, no, I told you before, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I think it's the balancing is just like, I know it must be a nightmare to balance the game and everything, but I mean, they've been doing it for 4 years. They should have more of a feel for how to go about it, how to balance certain weapons and, you know, the sandbox. And
for sure. And it just comes down to listening. Just listen to who's complaining. That's it. If Bungie could just do that, just for us as, like, you know, Crucible players, then man, this game would be in such a better state. Who cares about the PvE at that point? You know, it just shows that we have a company that cares.
Yeah,
and that's what you want. You know, you don't want to go to McDonald's. Like when McDonald's, remember when they changed the salt?
They changed the salt?
Yeah, remember I think they went from like kosher to like sea salt or something like that.
Oh, okay. I guess I
remember that, because it was a healthier choice, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, people were complaining about that. But that's what I'm saying. I don't know about now. Even McRib, man, I don't know. I think the McRib was gross, to be honest. But people wanted it, man. They were like, we want the McRib to come back. And the McRib came back, and you know what I mean?
It's literally just like the thing you get in a frozen meal, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. It's definitely one of those banquet type deals.
Yeah.
But I wasn't impressed. I don't know why everybody's hype. It must be stuck on them dollar food type foods. But anyways, but that's what I'm saying. You know, everybody wants a company that listens, and when the company listens, then they gravitate towards that company, and they're like, "We love this company. This company is the greatest company ever."
Do you guys remember when Coke changed their formula?
Yeah, that was back in the 80s.
Back in the 80s, man.
Yeah. People were pissed. Yeah, they were. And then they had no choice but to change it back to the original because just the public outcry thing. So
okay, so I want to move on to talk about Trials and what Bungie had stated about it, but let me finish with a couple things more about Crimson Days. First, the Tiny Bow emote and Shot Through the Heart ornament are available for direct purchase. I do not believe you can get them as drops in the game. You can only buy them from the Tess Evers.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you guys have any thoughts on that? The fact that, you know, with the limited content that we have, the two things that are new, they put them behind a paywall?
I don't like that. We should be able to earn them through gameplay too. I mean, it's literally like if Crimson Days and Crimson Doubles is in the lore, like, and it is, there should be a avenue through gameplay to earn it too.
Yeah, they, like, again, you know, they shoot themselves in the foot. They put money before product, you know? It's like, it's more quantity over quality type deal, you know? And that's what really turns people off about this game. I mean, it just kind of falls back to the big uproar in microtransactions, man. They push that stuff like no other. And it's like, well, we want all these different, like, emotes and stuff, and we don't feel like we're going to earn them properly. or anything, or we don't want to have to buy ornaments and stuff and pay actual money for it. And that's that kind of stuff that makes it seem like the company is. But honestly, that comes down to Activision. Activision is definitely
They were big pushers of that. I mean,
yeah,
he got Luke Smith to say, "Oh, you're going to throw your money at the screen," for emotes, and it's been like that ever since. So it's,
yeah.
Well, did Activision make Luke Smith say that, or did he just stupidly say that?
Well, it's probably the mentality, because he knows what Activision was looking for. Activision, they just let go 800 employees and everything.
Yeah.
Like
when their CFO made $50 million.
Yeah. 83 million between all their CEOs and upper management, and then they just let go of 800 employees.
Yeah, that's pretty crappy move in my opinion.
Pretty rotten.
Very, very crappy. And the final thing I do want to say about the Crimson Days 2019 is that you can also purchase a pretty sweet hoodie, actually, once you complete the quest. I'm not sure if you have to complete all the triumphs to get it, or if you just have to get the
Gotta get that bow. I think you just gotta get the bow.
Oh, okay, so that's pretty easy. So they do have a hoodie that you can buy from the Bungie store. It looks kind of cool. How much is
Very red.
How much is it? I'm curious. $777,000.77. Yeah, right.
All right, that's in euros.
In Canadian dollars. No, it's actually $49.99. So it's not.
Hey, it's
too
at
bad.
50.
$50. Not too bad.
I don't know. Wind sweaters got so expensive. I just want to stay warm.
Yeah.
I'd rather knit together a bunch of socks and then call it a day.
Yeah, they're also going to include that the hard pin that you were able to get during a previous event that Bungie had. I believe they were raising money for either Florida or Texas.
It was Texas.
Was it Texas?
Was it Harvey?
Harvey, yep.
Yeah.
And they were raising money for Harvey, and they released this pin, I want to say, sometime last year. I think, late summer, early fall. And I did pick that up, but it's going to be included with the purchase of the VOW hoodie, and they will donate $7 from each of those purchases to the Bungie Foundation, which is kind of cool.
Number 7.
Now, so next up, this topic I'm very excited to talk about because Bungie released an update with this week's TWAB regarding Trials of Osiris, or Trials of the Nine, whichever you want to call it. Shadow Price, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. This is from their Destiny dev team, and it goes on to read, as longtime Destiny players know, Trials of Osiris was released in May of 2015 as the original high-stakes weekend PvP event. Trials had an amazing impact on our game and our community. It was a pinnacle venue for players to show off their best skills, strategies, and gear. The 3v3 elimination mode combined with the card system created the coveted reward of earning a trip to the lighthouse. With the introduction of Trials of the Nine in Destiny 2, we made a few changes to the formula, which never really hit the same mark. We were unhappy with its role in the ecosystem. The new activity wasn't achieving the goal of bringing the community together every weekend. Both Destiny and online PvP scene have evolved since 2015, so we don't believe that bringing back the 2015 version of Trials of Osiris would accomplish what our goals are today. Until we have a solid prototype for a pinnacle PvP endgame activity, Trials is staying on hiatus indefinitely and will not return over the course of the next few seasons. When we have those new plans ready, we'll be sure to share them with you. So, what do you guys think of that?
Shots fired.
I think they messed up with their words. If you literally hear what they're saying we. You know what I mean? They're not saying anything as far as the community. It's what they projected and what they didn't get as far as the response. We were perfectly fine with Trials. I think everybody, honestly, typically 9 times out of 10 was perfectly fine with trials. I have so many people right now that I could just say, let me call this guy real quick and tell you, like, let him talk. You know what I mean? I have so many people like that right now that would say that they were fine with it. I have Discords. I have many, many messages of people it's hatred, like, towards the company. It's really bad. And it's sad to see that happening for people like me that have been playing this game for like 5 years, basically. And we're just like, man, they're over it. There's people that are partnered streamers that are literally saying they're so disappointed. Cammy Cakes they have commands. You go to their streams, they have literal commands, ! Trials, and just, they're sad. People are just so sad and just kind of disgusted with the Bungie. It's like, what are you guys doing? Yeah. Like, do you guys really know what you're doing right now? Like, do you understand, like, what impact you're having on the community? And are you guys really listening? Because it's going to come down to their numbers. When they see, like, I remember when D1 first came out, they were so proud of how many people were playing Destiny. You remember that? They put out X amount of hours and this many people playing. You remember that time? They were doing that type of stuff. They bragged about that, and I'm pretty sure they're seeing their numbers dip. They're like, man, what the heck is going on now? Yeah, it's you, and it's one of those breakup scenarios. It's not you, it's me. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like it's the game is fine. I mean, there's a lot of tuning that it could have, and stuff, and maybe it might not be the best situation for everyone, but just lean to somebody, you know what I mean, that actually plays this game the way that it should be played. I mean, I watched them do the Bungie bounty, and watching those guys play, I'm like, okay, there's no way that dude got his not forgotten. He either got his count recoved or the devs just gave him a gun. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, there's no way that these guys are good. And how are people struggling against them? Because they're casual players. They look completely casual. I mean, dude, the combo they were using, this dude was using a bow and some type of, I don't know what it was. It was a crazy loadout, and it was legit his loadout before they started, telling the community to choose his loadout. It was like, are you serious? You're really going to use that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just silly. And it just makes me think, like, man, like, that's where the, you can separate, the big wigs and, you know what I mean? Like the casual workers. You're just like, you see who's who, you know what I mean? The identity's revealed. And when they said that, it was like a slap to the face. I think for me, when I got into the recov business itself, I wasn't even intending to do it. I started off on Xbox for D2 because, it came out a couple months before PC, and I was helping people the same way. Somebody approached me and was like, hey, I'll do this, this, and this. And recovs are frowned upon, in the community for sure. But somebody came to me. I didn't even want to do it. I was just like, dude, I'll just help you, man. I'll just play with you and help, or play for you, whatever you want. I just wanted to do it out of the kindness of my heart. And then people just started coming to me, and it just turned into something else. But that community is also the sweat community too as well. There's some people that are for the game. There's some people that are for themselves and their pockets. I mean, they just want money, and I've heard so many people like that, and I actually don't associate with people like that. Mm-hmm. I'd rather play with people that are for the game and for the community. But that's how I see my servicing. Whatever I do, whether I'm playing with you or playing for you, I'm looking at it like, I'm doing this for you. I want you to have what you want. I mean, you may have your life schedule or whatever in front of you, or you may have, you may not have the right, group of friends or something. I'm just here to help in whatever way I can. It's kind of how I am in real life. If I got $1, I'll give you $1. But but that's just, it just hurts so bad to see that, because, man, I had such a big following and viewage at that time, and it's sad to see that they came for that, and some of them stuck around, and some of them actually come back to my stream from time to time. I'm like, man, I ain't seen you in a year, because it hasn't really, Charles hasn't been out in almost a year, and you're just like, man, like, to think that I met so many great people. It was so fun. I had so much fun. I met so many people, networked with so many people. And it's like they stole that relationship from me. Those friendships are now gone because what they wanted and what they sought after can no longer be found through me or anybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, it sucks. It sucks. And we're just like, what are we going to do? I mean, people want help and not forgottens and Lunas. Lunas are really easy to do in our opinion, but not forgottens. The population has died down so much. It takes like 10 years. I literally played for 5 hours and got 9 games in 5 hours because the population is so dead.
The matchmaking takes like a half hour.
It takes so long. When you get to high comp, like 3, 4, 5K, things start to slow down so bad. And you may even face the same team, which is silly. You'll play one team, you'll beat them, and you're waiting in queue for 10, 15 minutes, you match the same team. It's like, why can't you just insta-queue back into the same team if they're going to keep playing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or move forward to the next. And there's no way in the whole world that there's only one team on right now, and it took them 15 minutes to find the same team. There's no way. And that's bothersome. You know,
that's
people
why
like us.
That's why the PvP matchmaking is broken right now. And I wanted to just say one more thing. I wanted to highlight what you said earlier about it brought the community together, like trials in D1 and everything. Mm-hmm. And you know, they actually like admitted that this new activity wasn't achieving the goal of bringing the community together. Like, so
they weren't there for the streams.
Yeah.
The community they were talking about was the community in their office.
Yeah.
See, my big issue with this trials update that we got was that it almost seems like they're not listening. They acknowledged that trials in D1 was great, the people loved it, and then they just go on in the second paragraph to say that it doesn't match their goals today. But they don't really go on to say what their goals are, which means I don't think they even know what their goals are with it. And then they even go on to say that they don't have a solid prototype for a pinnacle PvP endgame activity. What? Destiny 2's been out for so long and you do not have a solid prototype for a pinnacle PvP activity? That's kind of crazy to me.
See, this is where I agree with Reb that they need to bring in people like Reb, people like Triple Rec, people like Luminosity, all these people to get the feedback from them to say what we want from trials and everything, what we want a competitive PvP endgame pinnacle matchmaking event to be.
But haven't they kind of done that? They've invited a large group of members from the Destiny.
I don't think they've done it for that though.
They did the Destiny Summit. I mean, they had Giggs was there and a couple other people, King Gathalion, and they were there for feedback. And I'm like, I think about the feedback that was given, and it didn't go the direction that they wanted. And it's like, what was the point of them flying those guys out for them not to accomplish what we wanted them to accomplish?
That's why there should be a PvP summit, like the showcase completely on competitive PvP and, you know, what trials could, you know, evolve into possibly. Like, I think it should be focused solely on PvP because I feel like that's the part of the game that's suffering the most right now.
Right. Definitely.
So
100% on that. I think PvP is not in a great state. I was really excited back right before Forsaken when the Crucible leads went out and said that, hey, any Crucible maps that we create moving forward will be available to all Destiny players. And that kind of got me excited because it almost demonstrated their commitment to sticking with Crucible and PvP. But then when we didn't get any maps with this last expansion that we got in December, we got nothing. We still don't have any new maps in Crucible. It almost feels like they abandoned Crucible altogether, and they're not really sure what they want to do with it. And it's important, and this is a very critical time for them to bring PvP into the game, to bring people into playing the game, because there's a lot of competition. There's the Division 2's coming out pretty soon. We have Anthem coming out next week, even though it's not a PvP game. but it's a popular title. And then we have Apex Legends, which is a PvP game that a lot of people are flocking to. So for them to drop this update that wasn't very clear about anything, it just says that, hey, we won't have anything for at least 2 seasons and it's on hiatus indefinitely. That's a pretty strong statement to make. You know, and it's not going to help them to bring players back or to keep players wanting to keep playing Destiny.
It's not. It's gonna cause a snowball effect, and the community is going to deteriorate.
More in division in the community. Yeah,
exactly. Because I have people now that are already talking about Division 2. Division 2, if they have the Dark Zone, it's going to be in a better state than Destiny. Division was a great game. In my opinion, like before the rework. I mean, it ran out of content really fast, but the rework, even with the rework, was an incredible change of events for the game. I was like, wow, like they really want us to play this game. They legit made it from the ground up again. And if Bungie can accomplish that, just something on that mannerism, I mean, come on, the possibilities of the game is like, it has endless possibilities. It's such a great game that could be, you know, like just think of the visuals that we experienced in D1. We were all so excited just to do things. We're just like, whoa, look at this, like, man, look at how they designed this. We were excited for designs. Now it's just so lazy, you know, everything's so lazy and put together.
Totally agree with you. That's just I don't like the look of the PvP maps. They all look the same. Like, you know, that's just, they don't have enough flair, originality, and things of that nature. And, you know, and I love the PvP maps and I love the locations in D1. Venus is my favorite location. I love the way that looked and everything, you know, and it's just, they had so much pride then, and it just feels like, yeah, they've gotten lazy and everything. And
I feel like they've honestly given up on their project. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out of nowhere and just said they were doing some battle royale game, like Destiny Battle Royale. That's why we took it out. Like, you know, like it'd probably be a better direction for Bungie if Bungie came out with a battle royale. Like Apex didn't come out with any type of advertising. That thing just came out of nowhere. If it's a private project, it's a private project. That I would, if they came out with a private project, I completely would forgive them. And if it's a great private project, I would forgive them for, you know, and it's all PvP. I would completely forgive them for like the slack that they're giving us, you know?
What if we got a battle royale mode in Destiny 2? Do you think that would fit in the...
It'd have to have specific guns, honestly, and I think it would be, I think it would be very interesting, to be honest. Like, just think about it. It'd be pretty interesting.
Dedicated servers, though. Like,
yeah, they would definitely need dedicated servers.
The game will fall apart with peer-to-peer, like, without in that mode, you know?
Just like, you know, abilities. They would have to, it'd be really weird. It'd be like Spellcraft or whatever that game is, Spell, whatever. You know what I mean? The Battle Royale with the wizards and with stuff. I don't know what it's called.
StarCraft?
But, no, it's called Spell something. It's like it's literally a Spellbreak. It's like a Battle Royale for like Magic and stuff. It's pretty interesting, but I think it's poorly executed. But I think it'd be worth, it'd be very interesting to have, but they would have to create, just like you said, dedicated servers for it.
You can't have like 60 people lagging on screen. It would be pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's already bad. We're already haunted in the community by, right now we're haunted by aimbots, you know, in the community. And I don't think wall hacks is a thing in Destiny right now, but it was an issue last year, and it's definitely an issue now when the last word and the sniper combo came back into the play as far as Destiny's concerned. All of a sudden everybody's a good sniper. Like everybody, man. Like there's so many people, even some friends of mine that are just like never sniped before with us at all for a year, and all of a sudden it's just the best sniper in the game. We're just like, bro, how do you know how to snipe? So we don't like initially put in like accusations, but man, there's so many suspect people out there that are definitely cheating and using third-party softwares. And then there's some that are just using controllers. And I mean, I don't have an issue with controller users. I know you guys use controllers, but me personally, I feel like the aim assist and stuff in controllers could be a little bit much, you know, and beneficial for the other players. And, it could be pretty triggering as far as getting sniped all the time.
It's pretty interesting you say that, because before we moved to PC, the concern was always, hey, are we going to be able to compete against all of the keyboard and mouse players, because they move so much quicker than controller players.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting for you to say that the controller players have an advantage because of the aim assist versus the keyboard and mouse players.
They have an advantage and a disadvantage. Their advantage is definitely their aim, and their disadvantage is their mobility. I started off on PC. When I was playing Xbox Destiny 2, I was on PC playing Overwatch for about 4 to 6 months. So I didn't get far. I went from silver to diamond, but it was pretty big improvement for me. It's a couple ranks, and that was just forcing myself to get used to the mouse and keyboard. Destiny comes out on PC. I still continue to use controller. I did it for about 4 months, I think. And from time to time, I'll do PvE because, Better Devils was like the meta back then. I did like some PvE with Better Devils and stuff, and because hand cannons are definitely way better on mouse and keyboard, hands down. And except for the Lunas, because the Lunas has that aim assist, and its pattern is pretty much the same as the keyboard, because there's no kick to it, So it benefits more. Like the Lunas and Not Forgotten and Sniper, and they definitely benefit more on the controller. But when it comes to like getting in somebody's face and stuff, there's only an X amount of top players that I know that can really counteract people getting in their face, and jumping over them and stuff like that. There's only a couple controller players that I know personally that can, handle that type of pressure. Other than that, they're pretty much done for.
I can't handle that type of pressure. I'm not one of those people. I freak out, and it's not a good look. I die.
It's hard. Snipers on controllers are just like, they're the best. They're honestly the best in the game. And then you'll probably have that one dude that's just crazy good at aiming. One of our friends antagonized, he was a great sniper with mouse and keyboard. Insane. Dude was insane. Another guy that's really good, Low Sonic. A guy's insane when it comes to sniping.
I've been sniped by him a few times.
He's nutty. Yeah. And so, like, there's people that you can, and those guys are like CSGO players, like global players and stuff like that. I can see that thing. But average mid-tier character players or something like that, they're not going to do so well on mouse and keyboard. You know what I mean? I don't use mouse and keyboard too often. I don't use sniper too often, excuse me. But when I do, I hit some pretty good snipes, but I'd prefer not to because I'm not as confident as most people.
Catch us live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/The Destiny Show. If you like the show, please share with friends, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Destiny content. You can find The Destiny Show podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, and all major podcast platforms. New episodes available Fridays.